Hello everyone, I'm Ashley Banfield. It's Thursday, May the 22nd, and welcome to Legal View. This is a nightmare story, and it is all too eerily familiar. A California youngster, a young woman, found nearly a decade after she disappeared. Police say that she was drugged and kidnapped when she was just 15 years old, that she was assaulted repeatedly, physically and sexually. And all of this allegedly by her mother's 31-year-old live-in boyfriend. Well, this is the man they're talking about, and today his alleged victim, who was 15 at the time, is now 25. Police say Isidro Garcia, the man you're looking at, forced her to marry him when she turned 18, that he even got her pregnant, that she gave birth to a daughter just 2 years ago. The young woman, quite understandably, doesn't want to be identified, and so in any photographs, CNN is blurring her face and also blurring the face of her now little daughter. That's why these pictures perhaps look so incredibly strange. The victim and her alleged kidnapper and tormentor, along with their daughter, seemingly just look like a normal family in photos from KNBC. In some of the photos, they're even dressed in coordinating t-shirts from a lighthearted movie like Despicable Me. Hard to even imagine. Probably the reason why the neighbors had absolutely no idea what was really going on behind the closed doors. Police say that this young victim endured years of physical, mental, and sexual abuse. Our Sarah Seidner went to the apartment building that they shared, and it's just miles away from this victim's heartbroken mother.
These photos from KNBC show that 25-year-old woman found a decade after she says she was kidnapped. These photos taken during her alleged captivity show her, her alleged kidnapper, and their child seemingly living a normal life. Breaking overnight, she tells our affiliate KABC that she's so happy and God blessed to be with her family. She says all the time she cried for them. Police say the girl entered a police station in Bell Gardens, California with a disturbing story. She told police her mother's then live-in boyfriend, this man, Isidro Garcia, drugged, kidnapped, and tricked her into keeping quiet after a fight at the family home back in 2004. The girl reportedly telling police she ended up marrying and having a baby with her alleged kidnapper, all the while harboring the painful secret. This apartment complex is where the couple lived. Police say it's about 25 miles from where the victim's mother lived. But people who live here in this very tight-knit community say they knew the couple well, and they simply can't believe what they're hearing. It appeared they loved each other.
She would go to the market like every other couple. They'd be happy, kissing, holding hands, and like she comes up with this now. Why does she take so long to do it, you know?
Was there any indication that she was in trouble, that something was wrong in this family?
That I think of myself from what I see, no.
But police say there was something terribly wrong.
We do know on 2 occasions she fled, she was caught, and she was beaten for her efforts.
Sarah Seidner joins me live now from that apartment complex in Bell Gardens, California. Sarah, what exactly can this man expect now?
Well, we know that he had a court appearance, his first in Santa Ana, this morning, and we're expecting to hear whether or not the district attorney is going to charge him with what the police have think that he should be charged with, things including kidnapping, rape, and false imprisonment, some very serious charges. We do know that there was a $1 million bail set for Isidro Garcia. I want to give you some new information that has just come into us now. We are hearing from the Bell Gardens police that they gave us some details of how this all came about, more than we had known earlier. Apparently, the alleged victim walked in. She was on the phone already with her mother, who had reported her missing back in 2004. She walked in. She knew her case number from Santa Ana when her mother had first put that information to police, saying that her daughter was missing. And police also say that the very same day she went in, she was complaining about some sort of domestic violence with her husband, and they were able to arrest him on Monday during a traffic stop. They arrested him for alleged domestic violence. So that's a little bit more detail on how this all unfolded. Very interesting to note that she was already talking to her mother when she walked in to talk with police and tell her story. Ashley?
All of it, Sarah, is just so remarkable. Thank you for that. Our Sarah Seidner reporting live for us. And I know what you're thinking. This case brings to mind a lot of names with similar stories, like Elizabeth Smart. Elizabeth Smart, you'll remember, kidnapped from her bedroom, age 14, then rescued 9 months later. She spoke with our Chris Cuomo on New Day this morning on the power that a captor's words alone can have when you're held captive.
As a survivor who has been chained up in physical chains and also had the chains of threats held over me, I can tell you firsthand that threat is so much stronger than physical chains. Now, I don't have intimate details on what threats he was holding her over her head, but I understand that he was holding her family, that he was threatening her family. And for me, that was the strongest threat anyone could have ever made to me.
Certainly helps to make more of a bizarre story, perhaps a little more easy to understand. I want to bring in HLN law enforcement analyst Mike Brooks and Dr. J. Buzz von Ornsteiner, a forensic psychologist. First to you, Buzz, what Elizabeth Smart just said on the air, the power of the threat. Apparently this young woman, according to neighbors, she had a car. She had her own friends. She walked into the police station to report this case herself. I don't know that I've ever heard of a kidnapped victim after this many years able to walk in on her own. Can you just sort of make some sense of that?
And again, you know, everyone's an individual and everyone acts differently when they're held captive, when they're in isolation, when they've been beaten, when they've been abused, when they're conditioned not to think, when they're conditioned not to ask questions, when they're conditioned to believe that their abuser is the one that they must follow the orders from. And again, it was just her and him. What I like to think happened was once the child was born, and once she had to have certain freedoms, because the child, of course, with her captive being such a narcissistic, antisocial personality, someone who's, it's all about him, and she is basically viewed as a slave or a pawn, that child, in essence, becomes him. And she's allowed more freedom to take care of that child.
And we don't know this yet, as the investigation is only just beginning. Understandably, maybe there were now threats that she recognized upon this child, and it was just too much to bear. And in fact, Mike Brooks, maybe you can weigh in on that. At this point, when you, first of all, in your long career in law enforcement, have you ever heard of a kidnapped victim after a decade able to walk in on her own to a police station to report that she's the one they're looking for?
No, not at all. And you know, it's very interesting too, Ashley, what Sarah was just reporting, that she was on the phone with her mother. So had there been other contact with her mother and the mother did not report this to police? Because when I first heard this, I'm saying, okay, if the mother told police that it was Garcia, that probably took her 10 years ago, did they drop the ball? But, you know, what role is the mother?
Well, I can tell you this. I can tell you this, that the way this began to unravel, Mike, and again, this is just the tip of the iceberg in this investigation, is that this young victim, now 25, had recently been reaching out to her sister on Facebook. Again, it speaks to the freedoms that this young woman had. She had her own car, her own friends, and access to the internet, and was reaching out to her own sister on Facebook, which may have then indicated to her, and Buzz, you weigh in on this, the power that he held over her, threatening her and then telling her her family was no longer looking for her and that they'd be deported if she went back. Perhaps the sister on Facebook was able to diffuse that.
Yeah, the fear of threat, and remember, that person's been conditioned over time to believe in isolation, that is what they must follow to survive, but yet with the amazing ability to have the internet, you're still connected with other people, even though you're still isolated. And also, people have been critical about her interactions with friendships or people in the neighborhood, but she's told to act a certain way or else she's going to be abused.
How she grew up.
Exactly.
And let's look at this. She was 15. Elizabeth Smart was out in the public being paraded around, and a police officer had to needle her to get her real name. Needle her before she gave it up. I mean, the power of these people over their captors.
Time, in isolation, the threats.
Yeah. Jay Buzz, thank you, Dr. von Ornsteiner. And Mike Brooks, as always, thank you for your insight as well. I'm sure there's a lot more to come on this story. As I said, we're just at the beginning.